Hi everyone. Welcome to English podcast session. I'm your host, John, and as always, I'm here with my brilliant co-host, Amelia.
Hey there, listeners! We're so glad you're tuning in. Today, we're talking about a concept that can really change the way you approach your week, the Sunday reset.
That's right. A Sunday reset isn't just a trendy term, it's a simple but effective practice that helps you start your week feeling organized, focused, and ready to tackle whatever comes your way.
We'll walk you through what a Sunday reset is, why it's important, and how you can create one step by step.
Plus, we've got our vocabulary break to help you learn useful words and phrases for productivity.
And don't miss the short story we'll share at the end. It's a fun way to see how a Sunday reset can work in real life.
All right, let's dive in. Segment 1. What is a Sunday reset?
Let's start with the basics. What exactly is a Sunday reset, John?
Well, think of it as a weekly ritual where you pause, reflect, and prepare for the week ahead. It's like hitting the refresh button on your life.
That's a great way to put it. A Sunday reset gives you the chance to clean up your physical space, organize your thoughts, and map out your priorities for the coming week.
And it's not just about work, right? It's about balancing all aspects of your life, whether it's work, family, health, or personal goals.
Exactly. The idea is to take a holistic approach so you can go into Monday feeling less stressed and more in control.
Segment 2. Why is a Sunday reset important? Amelia, why do you think Mondays are so stressful for a lot of people?
I think it's because people often wait until Monday morning to figure out what they need to do. They wake up feeling unprepared, which leads to stress and even procrastination.
That's so true. A Sunday reset changes that. It gives you a head start. Instead of scrambling to make decisions on the spot, you already have a plan.
And there's science behind it too. When you take time to organize and plan, you reduce decision fatigue, the mental exhaustion that comes from making too many decisions.
It also creates a sense of momentum. When you start your week on a strong note, it's easier to stay productive and positive throughout.
Definitely. It's like setting the foundation for success, one week at a time.
Segment 3. How to do a Sunday reset.
All right, let's get practical. How can our listeners create their own Sunday reset?
Good question. Let's break it down step by step.
Reflect on the past week. Spend 5-10 minutes thinking about your week. What went well? What could have gone better? Write down your thoughts. It's a great way to learn from your experiences and make improvements.
Plan your priorities for the week ahead. Choose your top 3 goals for the week. These should be things that matter most to you. And remember to keep them realistic. It's better to focus on a few important tasks than to overwhelm yourself with too many.
Organize your space. Take 20-30 minutes to tidy up. Whether it's your desk, your kitchen, or your living room, a clean space can do wonders for your mood. Studies show that clutter can increase stress levels.
Set your schedule. Pull out your planner or open your calendar app. Schedule your meetings, deadlines, and even your personal time. And don't forget to block out time for self-care or relaxation.
Plan your meals. Take a few minutes to think about what you'll eat during the week. It doesn't have to be complicated, just have a rough idea. Meal prepping or even just making a grocery list can save so much time and energy.
Self-care and relaxation. End your Sunday reset with something that makes you feel good. It could be a long bath, reading a book, or meditating. The goal is to recharge so you're not running on empty by midweek.
What do you think, listeners? Which of these steps will you try first? Let's take a quick break for our vocabulary section.
Great idea. These words will help you talk about productivity and planning with confidence.
Proactive. Definition: taking action before something happens. Example: planning your week on Sunday is a proactive way to manage your time.
Declutter. Definition: to remove unnecessary items from a space. Example: I always declutter my desk during my Sunday reset.
Momentum. Definition: the force that keeps something moving or progressing. Example: starting the week with a plan gives me the momentum to stay productive.
Reflect. Definition: to think carefully about something, especially past events. Example: I take 10 minutes to reflect on my achievements every Sunday.
Prioritize. Definition: to arrange tasks in order of importance. Example: when you prioritize your goals, you can focus on what matters most.
These are fantastic words. Try using them when you're talking about your Sunday reset or your week ahead.
And if you're not sure how to use them, just rewind this section and listen again. John, let's talk about the benefits. What's your favorite thing about doing a Sunday reset?
For me, it's the peace of mind. Knowing I've prepared for the week makes everything feel more manageable.
Same here. I love the feeling of control it gives me. Instead of reacting to problems, I feel like I'm staying ahead of them.
Another benefit is that it saves time. When you plan ahead, you don't waste time wondering what to do next.
And let's not forget about the confidence boost. When you start the week prepared, you feel more capable of handling challenges.
To bring everything together, let's share a quick story about someone who uses a Sunday reset.
Meet Sarah. Sarah used to dread Mondays. She would wake up late, rush to get ready, and spend the day feeling behind.
But then she discovered the Sunday reset. Now, every Sunday evening, Sarah spends an hour organizing her week. She starts by reflecting on the past week and writing down her priorities for the next one.
She also takes time to declutter her desk, plan her meals, and set her schedule.
By Monday morning, Sarah feels calm and ready to take on the week. She no longer dreads Mondays because she knows exactly what to expect.
The result? Sarah's productivity has increased, and she even has more time for the things she loves, like painting and hiking.
That's the power of a Sunday reset.
So, listeners, if you're tired of feeling overwhelmed at the start of the week, give the Sunday reset a try.
Start small. Even 30 minutes can make a big difference.
And don't forget to use today's vocabulary when you're talking about your reset routine.
Thanks for joining us on English Podcast Session. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review.
We'll see you next time with more tips and tools to help you thrive. Until then, take care and have a productive week.
Bye for now. Hey there, everyone! Welcome back to English Podcast Session, your favorite place to learn English while diving into fascinating and relatable topics. I'm your host, John.
And I'm Amelia. Today, we're brewing up an episode that's all about coffee. Yes, the drink most of us swear by to survive early mornings and long work days. But the big question is, does coffee really boost productivity?
It's a question worth asking, Amelia. After all, coffee is one of the most consumed beverages in the world. Some people can't even imagine starting their day without it.
Exactly. But is it helping us work smarter, or are we just fooling ourselves into thinking it does? In today's episode, we'll explore both the pros and cons of caffeine. Plus, we'll throw in some fun coffee hacks and even a short story to wrap it all up.
Oh, and don't forget, halfway through, we'll take a quick break to boost your English vocabulary with 5 important words related to today's topic.
So grab your coffee or tea and let's jump in.
Segment 1, the pros of coffee. All right, Amelia, let's start with the positives. Why do you think so many people swear by coffee as a productivity booster?
Well, John, caffeine, the active ingredient in coffee, is a stimulant. It works by blocking a neurotransmitter called adenosine, which builds up in our brains and makes us feel sleepy. By stopping adenosine in its tracks, caffeine helps us feel more awake and alert.
That's a great point. Caffeine doesn't just wake us up, it also improves our cognitive functions. Research has shown that it can boost short-term memory and increase focus.
Absolutely. And let's not forget its impact on our mood. A cup of coffee can trigger the release of dopamine, the feel-good hormone, which can make us happier and more motivated to work.
That's true. There's also evidence suggesting that coffee can enhance physical performance. It's why so many athletes use it as a pre-workout drink. It gives them the energy to push harder.
In summary, better focus, improved memory, increased energy, and even a bit of a mood lift. Sounds like a recipe for productivity, doesn't it?
It sure does. But as the saying goes, too much of a good thing can be bad. Let's look at the other side of the coin. Segment 2, the cons of coffee.
Exactly. While coffee has its benefits, it's not all sunshine and lattes. Let's talk about what happens when we consume too much caffeine.
For starters, there's the classic caffeine jitters. Have you ever had that shaky, anxious feeling after drinking one too many cups of coffee? It's not pleasant, and it certainly doesn't help with focus.
No, it doesn't. Another big issue is dependency. Some people become so reliant on caffeine that they can't function without it. That can lead to a vicious cycle of needing more and more just to feel normal.
Then there's the infamous caffeine crash. After the initial energy boost wears off, you can end up feeling more tired than you were before.
And don't forget about sleep. Drinking coffee too late in the day can disrupt your sleep cycle, which makes you less productive the next day.
So, what's the takeaway here? Coffee can boost productivity, but it's important to drink it in moderation. Too much can actually hurt your performance.
Speaking of performance, how about we take a quick pause to boost our listeners' English skills? It's time for today's vocabulary section.
All right, everyone, let's look at 5 important words and phrases related to coffee and productivity. Amelia, why don't you start us off?
Sure thing. The first word is stimulant. A stimulant is a substance that increases activity in your body or brain. It makes you feel more awake and alert. Example, caffeine is a stimulant that helps people stay focused.
Great! Next up, adenosine. Adenosine is a chemical in the brain that makes you feel sleepy. Caffeine blocks this chemical, which is why it keeps you awake. Example, when caffeine blocks adenosine, you feel less tired.
The third word is dependency. Dependency means relying on something to function normally. Example, some people develop a dependency on coffee to start their day.
Good one. Number 4 is crash. A crash is the sudden drop in energy that happens when the effects of caffeine wear off. Example, I felt a crash in the afternoon because I drank too much coffee in the morning.
And finally, we have moderation. Moderation means not doing something too much or too little, keeping it balanced. Example, drinking coffee in moderation can help avoid side effects like jitters.
Those are some great words to know. Make sure to practice using them in your own sentences. Now, let's get back to our coffee talk.
Sting 1. I've been guilty of grabbing coffee the second I wake up. But it sounds like I should wait a little longer.
Exactly. Another hack is to drink smaller amounts throughout the day instead of one large cup. This helps you avoid the caffeine crash and keeps your energy steady.
Smart. Here's a hack for those looking for sustained energy. Try adding healthy fats like coconut oil or butter to your coffee. It's called bulletproof coffee, and it slows the absorption of caffeine, giving you a longer-lasting boost.
I've heard of that. And for those who are sensitive to caffeine, consider alternating between regular coffee and decaf throughout the day. You still get the ritual without overloading on caffeine.
Great ideas. And don't forget to stay hydrated. Pairing your coffee with a glass of water can help you avoid dehydration and headaches.
These small adjustments can make a big difference in how coffee affects your productivity. Try them out and see what works for you.
Segment 4, a short coffee story.
All right, let's wrap up with a short story to tie everything together.
Meet Sarah, a graphic designer who was on a tight deadline. She had a big presentation to finish, so she drank 3 large cups of coffee in the morning to power through her work.
At first, it worked wonders. Sarah felt laser-focused and full of energy. She breezed through the first half of her project.
But by the afternoon, things took a turn. The caffeine started to wear off, and Sarah felt jittery and anxious. Her hands were shaky, and she struggled to concentrate.
By evening, she hit a major crash. Exhausted and frustrated, she couldn't finish her presentation on time.
The next day, Sarah tried a different approach. She drank one moderate cup of coffee in the morning and a smaller cup in the early afternoon. She also made sure to drink water and take short breaks to stretch.
This time, she finished her work on time and felt calm and focused throughout the day. The moral of the story? Coffee can be a powerful tool, but only when used wisely.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode of English Podcast Session.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Podcast Session. I'm John.
And I'm Amelia. We're here to help you improve your English while diving into thought-provoking topics. Today's topic? The myth of motivation.
It's a big one. Why motivation isn't enough and what you should rely on instead. Plus, we'll share practical habits to stay consistent.
And don't forget, we have an intermediate vocabulary section coming up. You'll want to stick around for that.
So, Amelia, let's jump right in. Motivation is often seen as the magic ingredient for success. But is it?
Not really, John. Motivation is like a spark. It gets you started, but it doesn't keep the fire going. Think about New Year's resolutions. How often do they last?
Exactly. People feel motivated at first, but as soon as the excitement fades, they give up. Motivation is fleeting.
And that's the problem. If you rely solely on motivation, you're setting yourself up for failure when it disappears. What we really need is consistency.
Consistency over motivation. I like that. But what helps us stay consistent when motivation is gone?
Habits, systems, and discipline. They create a structure that keeps you moving forward even when you don't feel like it.
Let's break it down. If motivation isn't reliable, what is? Amelia, give us some examples.
Sure. First, habits. Think of brushing your teeth. You don't need motivation for that. It's automatic because it's a habit.
Right, and the same applies to working out or studying. Start small, make it a routine, and over time, it becomes second nature.
Next, systems. Systems are about creating an environment that supports your goals. For example, if you're learning English, set up a system, 20 minutes a day, same time, same place.
And finally, discipline. This one's tough but essential. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it.
Absolutely. It's not glamorous, but it's what separates people who achieve their goals from those who don't.
Okay, Amelia, let's give our listeners some practical habits to stay consistent. What's first?
Start small. Don't aim for perfection, focus on progress. For example, instead of saying, "I'll study English for 2 hours a day," start with 10 minutes.
Or instead of saying, "I'll read a book every week," start with 1 page a day. Small steps are easier to maintain.
Great tip. Next, track your progress. Use a journal or app to record your habits. You can use a notebook or even a calendar. Checking off your progress feels satisfying.
I love that. Here's another: eliminate distractions. If you want to focus, turn off notifications, close unnecessary tabs, and set a timer.
Another one, eliminate friction. Don't forget to plan ahead. Make it easy to do the thing you want. If you're learning English, keep your materials accessible like a book on your desk or a language app on your phone. If you want to work out in the morning, lay out your clothes the night before. Preparation makes it easier to follow through.
And finally, find accountability. Tell a friend your goal or join a community. It's harder to quit when someone's counting on you.
Yes, accountability can make a huge difference. It's like having a teammate on your journey.
It really does. Sometimes, just knowing someone's watching your progress is enough to keep you going. And now, it's time for our vocabulary break. Let's learn some intermediate words and phrases related to today's topic.
First word, fleeting. It means something short-lived or temporary. For example, his excitement was fleeting, it disappeared as quickly as it came.
Next, structure. A framework or organization that holds things together. For example, a daily routine gives structure to your day.
Another one, discipline. It means the ability to control your behavior, especially to achieve goals. Example, she had the discipline to study every day, even when she was tired.
And how about automatic? It means something done without thinking because it's a habit. For example, driving became automatic after years of practice.
Last one, systems. These are organized methods or processes. For instance, creating a system for studying helped him improve his grades.
Try to use these words in your own sentences this week. Now, let's get back to the main discussion. Before we wrap up, it's story time. Let's share a short story that illustrates today's lesson.
Sure. There was once a man named Alex who wanted to run a marathon. He was super motivated at first, buying all the gear and signing up for a race. But after a week, he stopped training. Why? His motivation ran out.
So, what did Alex do? He decided to focus on building a habit. Every morning, he put his running shoes by the door. Even if he didn't feel like running, he told himself to at least walk for 5 minutes.
Over time, those 5-minute walks turned into 30-minute runs. And eventually, Alex completed his marathon not because he stayed motivated, but because he stayed consistent.
Such a great example. It shows that small, consistent action. Hello everyone. Welcome back to English Podcast Session, the show where we combine great conversation topics with tips to improve your English skills. I'm John.
And I'm Amelia. Today's episode is all about something we all rely on to keep our lives together: to-do lists.
Seriously, Amelia, where would we be without them? My life would be complete chaos.
Same here, John. But the real question is, why do we feel so good when we cross things off a to-do list? What's the psychology behind it?
That's what we're exploring today. Plus, we'll share some practical tips for making your lists more effective and a quick vocabulary segment to level up your English.
And stay tuned until the end for a short story about how a to-do list transformed someone's day.
All right, let's get into it. Segment 1: The psychology of to-do lists.
Let's start with the science, John. Do you know why crossing things off a to-do list feels so satisfying?
I've got to guess it's dopamine, right? The brain's reward chemical?
Bingo! Dopamine is released every time we achieve something, even if it's small. It's the same chemical that makes us feel good when we eat chocolate or get a high score in a video game.
So, you're saying crossing off do the laundry can give me the same satisfaction as eating a bar of chocolate?
Well, maybe not exactly the same, but close. It's because our brains are wired to seek accomplishment. That check mark or crossed off line signals that we've completed a goal.
And it's not just about feeling good, right? It's also about creating order.
Absolutely. To-do lists help us organize the chaos of daily life. They give us structure and clarity, which is especially important when we're overwhelmed.
I've read that lists can even reduce anxiety because they get thoughts out of your head and onto paper.
Exactly. It's called the Zeigarnik effect, by the way.
The Zeigarnik effect? Sounds fancy. What does it mean?
It's the psychological principle that says unfinished tasks stick in our minds and create stress. Writing them down helps us manage that mental load.
Fascinating. So, it's not just about getting things done, it's about feeling in control.
You've got it. And here's something fun. Some people even add tasks they've already done to their lists just to cross them off.
I've definitely done that. It feels like giving yourself a high five for a job well done.
Exactly. That's the magic of to-do lists, they celebrate the little wins.
Segment 2. Tips for crafting better to-do lists. Alright, now that we know why to-do lists are so effective, let's talk about how to make them work better for us. Amelia, any golden rules?
I've got a few. Let's start with prioritization. A good list isn't just a random collection of tasks, it's ranked by importance.
So, like marking tasks as urgent or non-urgent.
Exactly. Some people use methods like the Eisenhower matrix, where tasks are divided into 4 categories: urgent and important but not urgent, and so on.
That sounds helpful. I sometimes just highlight the top 3 things I must do that day.
That's a great start. Another tip: break big tasks into smaller steps.
Oh, definitely. Writing finished presentation on my list feels overwhelming. But research topic, create slides, and practice speech feel doable.
Exactly. Smaller steps make the list less intimidating and give you more opportunities to check things off.
Any thoughts on timing? Like, when's the best time to write your list?
I'd say either the night before or first thing in the morning. It sets the tone for your day.
And what about keeping it realistic? I sometimes cram too much into one day.
You're not alone. Overloading your list can backfire because it leads to frustration. A realistic list balances ambition with practicality.
Good point. Here's one I like: add something easy to start with.
Oh, yes! Starting with a quick win, like make the bed or check emails, builds momentum.
It's like tricking your brain into thinking, hey, I'm on a roll.
Exactly. And one last tip: consider using a digital tool or app if paper lists aren't your thing. Apps like Todoist or Notion can help you organize and track progress.
That's great advice. Technology really can streamline the process.
All right, time for our vocabulary spotlight. Let's go over some words related to today's topic.
Perfect. These are great for improving your English and expanding your vocabulary.
First word: procrastination. This means delaying tasks or avoiding doing what needs to be done.
For example, Tom's procrastination caused him to miss the deadline.
Next up, accomplishment. It refers to successfully completing or achieving something.
Here's an example: crossing tasks off my to-do list gives me a sense of accomplishment.
Another useful word is streamline. It means to make something more efficient or simpler.
For instance, using an app helped her streamline her to-do list.
And finally, meticulous. This means being very careful and detailed.
Example: his meticulous to-do list ensured nothing was forgotten.
Great examples, John. Listeners, try using these words in your own sentences. To wrap things up, let's share a story. This one's about Sarah, a university student juggling exams, part-time work, and social commitments.
Sounds like a lot on her plate.
It was... Sarah was feeling completely overwhelmed. She didn't know where to start, and every task felt like a mountain.
I can relate to that. What did she do?
She sat down and made a detailed to-do list. First, she wrote everything she needed to do. Then, she prioritized by deadlines and importance.
Smart move. Did she break down the tasks too?
Exactly. For her history exam, instead of just writing study, she broke it into steps, review notes, read textbook chapters, and create flashcards.
That makes it so much easier to tackle.
It did. She even added a few small tasks, like make lunch and call mom, to keep herself motivated.
So, what happened by the end of the day?
She not only finished her list but also felt a huge sense of relief and accomplishment. And because she planned well, she even had time to relax with her favorite TV show.
That's a great reminder of how lists can turn chaos into calm.
Exactly. It's not just about productivity, it's about peace of mind.
Well, folks, that's a wrap for this episode of English Podcast Session.
We hope you've enjoyed exploring why we love to-do lists, the psychology behind them, and how to make yours more effective.
Don't forget the vocabulary words we shared today. Try using them in your daily life.
And if you loved this episode, subscribe, share, and leave us a review.
Thanks for listening, and remember, even the smallest check mark on your list is a win.
Until next time, stay motivated and keep learning.
Bye for now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of English Podcast Session. I'm your host, John.
And I am Amelia. Today, we're tackling a topic that feels all too familiar in our tech-driven world: the social media productivity trap.
That's right. We're diving deep into how social media impacts our ability to stay productive. Plus, we'll share actionable tips to help you break free.
And wait, there's more. We'll challenge you to go one whole week without social media. Could you do it?
I'm already sweating, Amelia. But before we jump into the nitty-gritty, let me ask you, how much time do you spend on social media daily?
Oh, John, do I have to answer that? Fine, I'd say. Maybe 2 to 3 hours. But honestly, it adds up when I'm not careful.
You're not alone. The average person spends about 2.5 hours a day on social media. That's more than 17 hours a week, almost 2 full workdays.
And it's not just the time spent scrolling. It's what we could have done with that time. Imagine learning a language, writing a book, or just getting more sleep.
Exactly. And that's why we're here today, to help you reclaim your time and focus. Let's start by looking at why social media is so addictive in the first place. Segment 1: Why we scroll and lose time.
So let's set the scene. You sit down to relax after a long day, grab your phone and think, I'll just scroll for 5 minutes. What happens next, John?
Well, 5 minutes turns into 50 minutes. And before you know it, you've fallen into a rabbit hole of videos, memes, and posts.
Exactly. Social media platforms are designed to hold your attention for as long as possible. Algorithms analyze your behavior to show you content you'll love and can't stop watching.
It's like a digital buffet. You keep going back for just one more bite. But instead of food, it's videos, tweets, and reels.
And let's not forget the dopamine hit. Every like, comment, or new follower gives us a little rush of reward that keeps us hooked.
Totally. It's like a slot machine. You scroll, hoping for something exciting to pop up. And sometimes it does, which makes you want to keep going.
But here's the thing. All those little moments add up. Even if you're only checking social media for a minute, it disrupts your focus.
That brings us to the real problem, the productivity trap.
Segment 2, the productivity trap.
So, what exactly is the productivity trap?
It's when social media steals your time, energy, and attention without you even realizing it. For example, you're working on a project, but you keep checking your phone just to see.
And each time you check, it takes your brain a while to refocus. Studies show it can take up to 23 minutes to get back into a deep state of concentration after a distraction.
That's insane! Imagine losing almost half an hour every time you glance at your notifications.
Exactly. And it's not just about losing time. It's also about mental clutter. You're constantly switching between tasks, which makes everything feel harder.
Plus, let's not ignore the comparison trap. You scroll through your feed and see people accomplishing amazing things. Instead of motivating you, it makes you feel like you're not doing enough.
That's so true. It creates this pressure to keep up, which often leads to procrastination.
So now you're not only wasting time, but you're also feeling unmotivated. It's a double whammy.
Vocabulary section.
All right, listeners, it's time for a quick vocabulary break.
If you're new here, this segment is all about learning key words and phrases related to today's topic. Let's dive in.
Our first word is dopamine. Dopamine is a chemical in your brain that makes you feel happy or rewarded. For example, getting likes on Instagram releases dopamine, which is why it feels so satisfying.
Next up, we have procrastination. Procrastination means delaying or avoiding something you need to do. Example, instead of starting his homework, Sam spent 2 hours procrastinating on Twitter.
And finally, algorithm. An algorithm is a set of rules a computer follows to solve a problem or deliver results. For example, social media algorithms show you content based on your preferences.
Great job! Feel free to replay this section and practice. Segment 3, Tips to manage social media use.
All right, let's talk solutions. How can we stop social media from hijacking our time?
Step 1, set clear boundaries. For example, decide to check social media only during certain times of the day like lunch or after dinner.
Love that. It's like putting social media in its own little box.
Exactly. Step 2, turn off unnecessary notifications. If your phone isn't buzzing every 5 minutes, you're less likely to get distracted.
Another great tip is to use apps that track your screen time. It can be eye-opening to see how much time you're really spending online.
Totally. There are even apps that temporarily block social media if you need to focus.
Here's another idea. Replace scrolling with something more productive. For example, keep a book nearby or try a quick workout when you feel the urge to grab your phone.
And don't underestimate the power of mindfulness. Before opening an app, pause and ask yourself, why am I doing this? Is it helpful or just a habit?
That's such a good point, John. Which brings us to our favorite idea, the No Social Media for a Week challenge.
This is a big one, folks. Delete all your social media apps for 7 days. Use that time to focus on other things, then see how you feel.
It's tough, but totally worth it. We'll share some tips for getting through the challenge at the end of the episode.
Segment 4, Story Time, the social media wake-up call.
All right, it's story time. Let's talk about Sarah. She's a freelance graphic designer who loved social media. Maybe a little too much.
Sarah would scroll through Instagram every morning before starting work. She told herself it was just to get inspired.
But instead of feeling inspired, she'd end up comparing herself to other designers. It made her feel stuck and less confident in her work.
One day, Sarah decided to take a break. She deleted all her social media apps for a week. At first, it was hard. She felt disconnected and even bored.
But something amazing happened. Without the constant distractions, Sarah found she could focus better. She finished her projects faster and even had time to start a personal art project.
By the end of the week, she realized she didn't need social media as much as she thought. Now, she uses it intentionally, not mindlessly.
Sarah's story shows us that sometimes taking a step back is the best way to move forward.
Well, that's it for today's episode of English Podcast Session.
Thanks for joining us. Remember, social media isn't bad, it's how we use it that matters.
And don't forget to try the No Social Media for a Week challenge. We'd love to hear how it goes for you.
Share your thoughts with us, ironically, on social media. Or email us if you're taking the challenge seriously.
Until next time, stay productive, stay mindful, and take control of your time. Bye for now. See you next time. Hello, everyone, and welcome to English Podcast Session, the podcast where we bring you practical tips to improve your English and your life. I'm John.
And I'm Amelia. We're so excited to have you with us today for a discussion that might just change how you tackle your daily tasks.
Today's topic is called the 2-minute rule. It's a simple productivity hack that's surprisingly effective.
The idea is straightforward. If something takes 2 minutes or less to do, don't wait, just do it right away.
It sounds simple, but believe me, it can have a huge impact on your productivity, your mindset, and even your stress levels.
We'll explain what it is, why it works, and how you can start applying it immediately. Plus, we've got a vocabulary segment to sharpen your English and a short story to tie everything together.
So, grab your favorite drink, sit back, and let's dive in. Section 1. What is the 2-minute rule? Amelia, let's kick things off. What exactly is the 2-minute rule? Great question, John. The 2-minute rule is a productivity technique designed to help you stop procrastinating.
Procrastination, huh? That habit of putting things off until the last minute. Exactly. And we've all been there, haven't we? You look at a task like responding to an email or organizing papers and think, I'll do it later.
But then, later never comes.
Right. The 2-minute rule tackles that. If a task will take 2 minutes or less to complete, do it immediately instead of adding it to your mental to-do list.
Let's make it relatable. Think about daily life. How often do we ignore tasks that could have been done in seconds? Like returning a library book, sending a quick thank you message, or wiping the kitchen counter.
These tasks don't seem like much on their own, but when you pile them up, they feel overwhelming. The beauty of this rule is how it prevents that pileup.
Section 2. Why does it work? So, Amelia, why does such a simple idea work so effectively?
It's all about momentum. When you complete a small task, it gives you a sense of accomplishment, even if it's tiny. And that sense of accomplishment can lead to tackling bigger tasks. It's like a snowball effect. You start small, but it builds over time.
There's also the mental clarity factor. Think about how many little things we carry around in our minds all day. Absolutely. Each undone task takes up a bit of your mental space, creating something we call mental clutter.
Mental clutter is like having too many browser tabs open. It slows you down. Completing quick tasks is like closing tabs you don't need.
And don't forget habit building. The 2-minute rule teaches your brain to act, not delay. It's like training your mental muscles.
Plus, let's be real, most of these tasks take even less than 2 minutes. The actual time is often 30 seconds or so.
But the relief you feel from getting them done is worth much more than those few seconds.
Let's pause for a moment because it's time for our vocabulary break.
Section 3. Vocabulary. This is the part of the show where we teach you some vocabulary related to today's topic.
The first word is procrastination. Procrastination means delaying or postponing something, usually important tasks, even though you know you should do them. Here's an example. I procrastinated cleaning my closet for weeks until I couldn't find anything to wear. Our next word is momentum. Momentum refers to the strength or speed gained by motion. In productivity, it's the positive energy you feel when you keep accomplishing things. Example, after finishing my first project, I gained momentum and completed 2 more tasks. The last word for today is clutter. Clutter is a collection of things in an untidy state. This can be physical, like a messy desk, or mental, like too many thoughts. Example, clearing the clutter from my room helped me feel more focused and calm.
Try using these words in sentences or writing this week. They're practical, and you'll see them often. Section 3. Common misconceptions about the rule.
Now, John, let's address some common doubts people might have about this rule.
Good idea. One thing people ask is, won't I get distracted by all these little tasks?
And the answer is no, if you use it wisely. The 2-minute rule applies to tasks that pop up naturally, not ones you actively seek out while avoiding bigger tasks.
Another question is, what if something feels like a 2-minute task but takes longer?
That's a fair point. If you start a task and realize it's bigger, don't stress. The important thing is, you made an effort to begin, and you can always break it into smaller steps.
It's not about perfection, it's about progress. Section 5. The challenge. All right, listeners, it's time for a challenge.
We want you to apply the 2-minute rule for 1 day. That means every time you face a small task, instead of saying, I'll do it later, tackle it right then and there.
Notice how much time you save, how much lighter you feel, and how your mental space clears up.
Then share your experience with us. What was easy? What was hard? Did it make a difference? Tag us on social media or send us a message. We'd love to hear from you.
And now, let's bring this concept to life with a short story. Meet Sarah. She's a busy college student with classes, assignments, and a part-time job. One morning, Sarah's to-do list had 3 small tasks: replying to a professor's email, folding laundry, and booking a dentist appointment. These were quick tasks, but Sarah decided to delay them. I'll get to them later, she thought. But throughout the day, those undone tasks kept nagging her. By evening, she felt stressed and overwhelmed. The next day, Sarah tried the 2-minute rule. As soon as she saw a task that could be done quickly, she did it immediately. By 10 a.m., she had already cleared her email, folded her laundry, and made her dentist appointment. The rest of the day felt lighter and more productive. This small habit made a huge difference in Sarah's mindset and efficiency. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of English podcast session.
Hi, listeners. It's so great to have you here with us today. I'm Amelia, and as always, I'm joined by my amazing co-host, John.
Thanks, Amelia. You're too kind. So, everyone, we have an exciting topic for you today, one that can genuinely improve your life if you master it.
That's right. We're talking about the power of saying no.
You know, Amelia, saying no is one of those things that sounds simple but is incredibly hard for most of us to do.
Absolutely. A lot of us say yes to things we don't want to do just to avoid conflict or guilt. But in the long run, it can leave us feeling exhausted and overwhelmed.
So today, we're going to explore why saying no is so powerful, why it's hard, and most importantly, how you can do it in a way that's respectful and effective.
And don't forget, we'll also have our intermediate vocabulary section, where we'll break down some keywords and phrases related to today's topic.
Plus, we'll end with a short story that shows the impact of saying no in action. So stick around.
All right, let's get into it.
Section 1. Why is saying no so powerful? So, Amelia, let's start with the big question. Why is saying no so important?
Great question, John. Saying no is all about protecting your time, energy, and mental health. Every time you say yes to something you don't want or need to do, you're essentially saying no to something else, something that might be more important to you.
Exactly. Think about it this way: your time and energy are limited resources. If you're constantly giving them away to things that don't align with your goals, you're going to feel drained.
That's so true. And here's something interesting: saying no isn't just about protecting yourself. It's also about being honest with others.
What do you mean by that?
Well, when you agree to something you don't actually want to do, you might not give it your best effort. That can lead to resentment or disappointment, both for you and the other person.
Ah, I see what you mean. So, in a way, saying no can actually improve your relationships by setting clear expectations.
Exactly. And it helps you focus on what truly matters. Whether it's your career, family, or personal growth, saying no to distractions allows you to say yes to your priorities.
That's a powerful perspective. You know, Amelia, I used to think saying no was selfish. But now I realize it's more about self-respect and clarity.
Absolutely. And for anyone listening who feels guilty about saying no, just remember you can't pour from an empty cup.
That's such a good point. Listeners, take a moment to reflect. When was the last time you said yes to something you regretted?
Oh, I've been there. Saying yes to things like extra projects at work or social events I wasn't excited about.
Same here. It's a common struggle. But the good news is, you can learn to say no, and we'll show you how. Section 2. Why is saying no so hard?
Before we dive into how to say no effectively, let's talk about why it's so difficult in the first place.
Good idea. I think one big reason is fear. People are afraid of rejection, conflict, or disappointing others.
Definitely. We're often taught that saying yes makes us likable or helpful, while saying no can seem cold or unkind.
That's true. And there's also social pressure. Sometimes we say yes because we want to fit in or avoid being seen as difficult.
And let's not forget guilt. It's hard to say no when you feel like you're letting someone down.
Right. But here's the thing, saying yes when you mean no doesn't actually help anyone. It can lead to stress, burnout, and even damaged relationships in the long run.
Exactly. And learning to say no is a form of emotional intelligence. It's about understanding your limits and communicating them effectively.
So true. And now, let's move on to some practical strategies for saying no politely and confidently. Section 3, Tips for saying no politely and effectively.
All right, let's break this down. How do you say no without feeling awkward or rude?
The first tip is to be clear and direct. For example, instead of saying, maybe later, you can say, I'm sorry, I can't do that right now.
That's a good one. Ambiguity can lead to misunderstandings, so it's better to be upfront.
Another tip is to express gratitude before declining. For instance, thank you for thinking of me, but I'm not available.
Oh, I love that. It softens the rejection and shows appreciation.
Here's another, offer an alternative if it's appropriate. For example, I can't help with this, but maybe someone else on the team can.
That's really thoughtful. And if you're not sure how to respond, you can always ask for time to think. Say something like, let me check my schedule and get back to you.
That's so useful. It takes the pressure off and gives you time to make a decision.
And for those who feel really uncomfortable saying no, try practicing with small things, like turning down an invitation to a casual event or declining an extra helping of dessert.
That's a great idea. It's like building a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger you get.
Exactly. And remember, you don't owe anyone an elaborate explanation. A simple, I can't commit to this right now is enough.
Perfect. Let's take a short break for our vocabulary section and then dive back in with more insights.
Welcome to our vocabulary break. Let's explore some key words and phrases related to today's topic.
These are great for improving your English and understanding the concept of saying no.
The first word is boundaries. Boundaries are limits you set to protect your time, energy, or emotions.
Example, I had to set boundaries with my coworkers to avoid working late every day.
The next word is overcommit. This means taking on more responsibilities than you can handle.
Example, I overcommitted by agreeing to 3 meetings in one afternoon.
Another useful phrase is turn down. It means to refuse or decline something.
Example, I had to turn down the job offer because it didn't align with my career goals.
And finally, we have prioritize. This means to decide what is most important.
Example, I need to prioritize my health, so I've started saying no to late-night work.
Those are your vocabulary words for today. Try using them in your own conversations or writing.
Now, let's get back to the show.
To wrap up, we'd like to share a short story that illustrates the power of saying no.
This is about a woman named Maya, a graphic designer who was struggling with burnout.
Maya was a people pleaser. She couldn't say no to her clients, friends, or even random requests from acquaintances.
Her calendar was always full, and she barely had time for herself. One weekend, she missed her niece's birthday because she was stuck finishing an extra project she'd agreed to.
That was a wake-up call for Maya. She realized she needed to make a change.
So, the next time a client asked for a last-minute revision, Maya politely said, I'd love to help, but I'm fully booked right now. Can we schedule this for next week?
To her surprise, the client was understanding.
That small no gave Maya the confidence to set clearer boundaries in other areas of her life.
Over time, Maya learned to protect her time and focus on what truly mattered: her family, her health, and her personal goals.
The takeaway here? Saying no isn't about shutting people out. It's about making room for the things that truly matter to you.
And that's a wrap for today's episode.
Thanks for tuning in to English Podcast Session. We hope this episode inspires you to embrace the power of saying no.
Don't forget to practice the tips and vocabulary we shared. And remember, saying no can be a form of self-care.
As always, keep improving your English and your life.
Until next time, bye.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English podcast session. I'm John.
And I'm Amelia. Thank you for joining us today. We've got a fascinating topic to dive into: how gaming and esports have become a defining part of Gen Z and Gen Alpha culture.
That's right. From massive online communities to esports as full-fledged careers, gaming is no longer just a hobby, it's a way of life for millions of people.
We'll also look at the benefits and downsides of these virtual worlds. And later, we'll have a vocabulary section to help you learn some key terms related to gaming and esports.
And stay tuned until the end, we've got a short story to wrap things up that perfectly captures the essence of today's topic.
So, let's jump right in. John, how do you think gaming has shaped Gen Z and Gen Alpha culture?
Well, gaming has become a shared experience for these generations. Think about how many kids and teens today socialize in games like Minecraft, Fortnite, or Roblox.
Absolutely. These games aren't just about playing, they're digital playgrounds. People chat, build, and collaborate. It's like hanging out at the mall back in the day, but now it's all virtual.
And let's not forget streaming platforms like Twitch or YouTube gaming. Watching someone play is as popular as playing yourself.
So true. I read that in 2023, the global gaming market hit over $200 billion. That's not just entertainment, that's an industry.
Right. And with esports tournaments, you see players earning millions, with packed stadiums and fans from all over the world.
It's a whole new form of celebrity. And speaking of sports careers, John, have you noticed how parents are beginning to support gaming as a legitimate path?
Yes. Though some still think gaming is just a waste of time, many are seeing it as a real opportunity. It's not just about playing, it's coding, designing, or even managing events.
But let's talk about the other side of the coin. Gaming isn't perfect. What are some benefits, John?
I'd say problem solving is a big one. Games like The Legend of Zelda teach players to think creatively.
True. And then there's teamwork. Multiplayer games like Overwatch require communication and cooperation.
Plus, virtual worlds give people a sense of belonging. Many introverts feel more comfortable socializing online than in real life.
But there are downsides too. For instance, gaming can be addictive. Some people spend hours playing, neglecting school, work, or even sleep.
Right. And there's also the issue of toxic behavior in online communities, bullying, harassment, or even cyber crimes.
That's where setting boundaries is so important. Parents and players alike need to understand the balance between gaming and other parts of life. Okay, listeners, we're taking a quick break to introduce some vocabulary that will help you discuss gaming and sports in English.
I'll say the word, and Amelia will explain it with an example. Let's go. Avatar.
An avatar is a character or figure that represents a player in a game. For example, my avatar in the game is a warrior with red armor and a sword.
Multiplayer.
This refers to games where multiple people can play together online or locally. Example, I prefer multiplayer games like Call of Duty because I can team up with friends.
Toxic.
Toxic describes negative or harmful behavior in a game, like bullying or rude comments. Example, the chat in that game is so toxic that I had to turn it off.
Streamer.
A streamer is someone who plays games live online for an audience. Example, she's a popular streamer on Twitch and thousands of people watch her daily.
Esports.
competitive gaming at a professional level, often with tournaments and big prizes. Example, esports players train like athletes, spending hours perfecting their skills.
Remember, practice these words with examples of your own to build confidence. Now let's dive deeper into something essential: how to make esports or gaming a fulfilling part of your life without it harming your health, education, or career.
Right. Gaming is great. It can improve your skills, connect you with people, and even lead to a career. But like any passion, it needs structure to avoid burnout or imbalance.
Tip 1. Set clear goals for gaming.
First, decide why you're gaming. Are you playing casually to relax, or are you pursuing a sports competitively? Knowing your purpose will help you structure your time.
For example, if you're aiming for a career in esports, treat it like any other profession. Create a practice schedule, just like a musician or an athlete would, and make time for other priorities too.
And if you're a casual gamer, set limits, maybe 1 or 2 hours a day after school or work. Use gaming as a reward, not a distraction.
Tip 2. Prioritize your health.
Health is crucial. A lot of gamers sit for hours, which can lead to problems like back pain, eye strain, or even poor mental health.
A simple fix is to follow the 20-20-20 rule for eye strain. Every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. This gives your eyes a much-needed break.
Also, stay active. Even 30 minutes of light exercise like yoga, walking, or stretching can improve your posture and reaction times in gaming. Some top players even have fitness coaches.
Don't forget about sleep. Late-night gaming might seem fun, but it can affect your focus and energy the next day. Try to stop gaming at least an hour before bedtime to let your brain wind down.
Oh, and hydration. Gamers often lose track of time and forget to drink water. Keep a bottle nearby to stay hydrated, which helps with focus and stamina.
Tip 3. Manage your time wisely.
Time management is key, especially for students and working professionals. Use tools like timers or apps to help you stick to a schedule.
For example, if you're a student, dedicate specific hours for homework or studying, then reward yourself with gaming after. This keeps you productive and guilt-free.
And if you're working, treat gaming as a way to unwind. But set a cutoff time like stopping by 9 or 10 p.m. so it doesn't interfere with your sleep or morning routine.
If you're serious about esports, balance training with downtime. Over-practicing can lead to burnout. Plan rest days, just like athletes do. Tip 4. Build supportive relationships.
Involving your friends and family can make a huge difference. Share your gaming goals with them. For example, explain why you're practicing or competing so they understand your passion.
And don't forget to spend time with them outside of gaming. Relationships in the real world are just as important as those in your virtual ones.
Also, collaborate with others. Join gaming communities or teams where people encourage a healthy balance. You're less likely to feel isolated or overburdened when you have a support system.
Tip 5. Monitor your mental health.
Let's talk mental health. Gaming should feel fun and rewarding. If it starts to feel like a chore or causes anxiety, it might be time to reevaluate.
Exactly. If you find yourself in toxic online communities, take a step back. Mute harmful players, block negativity, and focus on spaces that are positive and supportive.
And if gaming feels overwhelming, try stepping away for a day or two. Go outside, connect with friends offline, or explore other hobbies. Balance keeps your passion sustainable.
Tip 6. Combine gaming with other skills.
Here's an interesting one: use gaming to learn or develop new skills. For example, if you're into sports, you can explore video editing by creating your highlight reels.
Or if you like designing, try creating custom game skins or maps. Some gamers even start coding or 3D modeling because of their interest in gaming.
It's a great way to turn your hobby into a skill that supports your education or career goals.
Tip 7. Set realistic expectations.
Finally, set realistic expectations. Becoming a professional esports player or streamer takes time, effort, and often a bit of luck.
Exactly. Focus on what you can control, improving your skills, building connections, and balancing your commitments. Even if you don't go pro, you'll still gain valuable experiences.
So to sum it up, know your goals, take care of your health, manage your time, build strong relationships, and keep a balanced mindset. With these tips, gaming can be a rewarding part of your life without taking over.
And remember, gaming is just one part of who you are. Balance it with everything else you love to build a healthy, fulfilling lifestyle. Let's talk about gaming communities now. Amelia, how do you think these communities impact people?
They're amazing for making connections. For instance, someone in Brazil can team up with a player in Japan in seconds.
It's like a global language, isn't it? And communities like Discord or Reddit let gamers share tips, memes, and even life advice.
But like we said earlier, they're not without problems. Toxicity can make some spaces feel unsafe.
That's where moderation comes in. Game companies and communities are working on better systems to prevent abuse.
To wrap things up, here's a short story that highlights how gaming is more than just a pastime.
Liam, a 16-year-old from Canada, always struggled to make friends at school. He felt shy and out of place. But when he discovered Minecraft, everything changed.
Through the game, Liam joined a building contest on a global server. He met kids from India, Germany, and the USA, worked as a team to design a virtual city.
For the first time, Liam felt like he belonged. He even started learning coding because of the game, and now he's thinking about a career in game development.
Gaming gave him confidence, skills, and a sense of community, all from his bedroom.
That's all for today's episode of English Podcast Session.
We hope you learned something new about gaming and its impact on our culture.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And let us know what's your favorite game and why.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye for now.